Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mappa Forward, friends. Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about the confirmation of coffee leaf rust in the region of Hawaii. Coffee leaf rust was confirmed on the islands of Maui and Hilo, and this is not good news at all for the coffee producers of the region. Hawaii is the last coffee producing region in the world to get confirmed to have coffee leaf rust, and it was only a matter of time before it happened. But now that it has happened, this is going to prove quite concerning for the region. The reason is because what happens when coffee leaf rust infects a plant? It's a fungus, right? So what happens when it infects a plant is that it gets into the system of the plant and starts to take over the leaves. Once it takes over the leaves, it grows over the surface of the leaf so that it inhibits photosynthesis. The leaves die, and the leaves are where energy is received from the sun and photosynthesis partakes. Now, if there are no leaves and no photosynthesis can take place, this inhibits the growth of fruit or the cherries that are on a coffee tree. So coffee leaf rust degrades the leaves so that they cannot be the energy receiver for plants, and it essentially reduces the entire yield, or it reduces the yield of the entire crop. This reduces the amount of money that producers can earn in revenue for their season. Now, producers in Hawaii have been affected by COVID significantly because tourism is the largest revenue generating revenue stream for the islands, and tourism has been immensely affected as a result of COVID. A lot of coffee is sold to tourists that come because Kona coffee is highly sought after in Hawaii by tourists, and it's a brand unto itself. So less tourists means less coffee sold means less demand means less coffee being sent off to retail. So that's one part of the crisis. The next thing, this coffee leaf rust turns up and it reduces the yield. Not this year, because the harvest is they're in the middle of the harvest, but it will absolutely reduce how much coffee is produced next year and the years that follow that, until they can get the coffee leaf rust under control. So coffee producers who were not able to sell their entire crops from the last season are already experiencing challenges. Add to that, off the back of the challenges from COVID, what's going to happen as a consequence of coffee leaf rust. And we are starting to see one of the most rich coffee producing regions in the world, because the average price of a pound of Hawaiian coffee is about 40 pounds standard. That's for specialty coffee. So what you're going to see is that is absolutely going to be affected by not only the pandemic, but coffee leaf rust. One of the pluses to all of this, when coffee leaf rust hits coffee producing regions that are less fortunate and who are heavily tied to the sea market, like in Central and South America, what you see is, because those smallholder producers are really under the stranglehold of things like the sea market and cannot afford, because the margins are so tight, they cannot afford to buy the kinds of medicines that plants need when the fungus of coffee leaf rust infect their plants. The effects of coffee leaf rust are far more devastating to them than they will be for Hawaiian coffee producers. The big challenge ahead for coffee Hawaiian producers is to get it under control as quickly as possible so that it doesn't spread to other farms that aren't currently infected. So the kinds of actions they're taking, you can check online and read a bunch of articles about this, but Kimo, I hope that I've said that right, Kimo Faulkner, who is the president of the Coffee Growers Association, on his own farms, he's been talking about the fact that he suspended sales, that they are reducing, I'm sorry for stumbling there, I don't know why I couldn't find those words, but they're reducing the logistical transfer of coffee, the movement of coffee around the islands. And this is because they want to reduce the way that the fungus travels, whether it be on the burlap bags, whether it be on the actual coffee itself. And it just requires the transportation of a couple of spores to infect a new coffee farm. So they're suspending sales and limiting, if not stopping, the movement of coffee around the islands. I encourage you to check out how this is unfolding by setting a Google alert for Hawaiian coffee so that you get the news into your inbox as it starts to unfold. But this is an important thing for us to track. And I hope that to all the Hawaiian coffee producers out there, I wish you a speedy resolution, as I do for every coffee producer that is faced with coffee leaf rust. This is devastating for so many people. And with everything that we've got going on, this is just another thing that 2020 is throwing at us that we have to deal with. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.